Game on.
Hey, what's up everybody? This is 8-Bit Flashback, and you're watching Glen's Retro Show.
For the machine, some not even in great working condition. Now fortunately, it's not a very complex machine, so it's fairly easy to repair. The parts are not like some crazy
Finally home.
LED.
And I got my package here.
Tend to break down.
I'm pretty sure I know what this is going to be. Let me get this thing out of the
Don't
box.
beat me on them, and you know what? I've given up. I said to myself,
This is going to be
why would I
good.
spend this kind of crazy money to buy one that's, you know, not in great condition, may have some issues down the line.
Only cost me $5,000.
I wanted to build my own. Well, that's what
Glen doesn't even have one of these.
I have just completed my
And
very
it's
own
all mine.
Entex Adventure Vision. And this one is actually better than the original because there's really no parts that are going to
What's
break or
Glen
wear
got?
out. And it can run many more games than the initial 4 games that were released. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We'll do a little how I built it, a little information between this and the Virtual Boy, and well, show you how I built it. All said and done, I did have a couple of friends help me out on this one with the case and the 3D printed parts. But all in all, this was still well under $200 to build, and that's sure a lot less than the current last sold one for $5,000. To have a crazy person who purchased that.
I got to pay me a visit.
Hi everybody, thank you for joining me on today's edition of Glen's Retro Show. You know, 1982 was actually a really good year in the gaming industry. We had seen the release of the ColecoVision, the Vectrex, both systems I love to this day. They're great consoles if you can get your hands on one. They're getting a little expensive, but usually under $200 you can get a pretty good working model. Now another machine that was released in 1982 is considered by pretty much everybody, and I agree, that is the ultimate holy grail of consoles. Out of all the video games out there, one console holds the true title of being a holy grail, and that's the Entex Adventure Vision. Now, the Adventure Vision was released in 1982, and of course, we had the great video game crash from 1983, which pretty much wiped the slate, almost like the asteroid coming down, taking out the dinosaurs, just cleaned the slate. As far as at least North America was concerned in the gaming industry. Now the Entex Adventure Vision was about $80. I remember seeing it in KB Toys, and it came with one game, Defender. Now what was interesting about the Entex Adventure Vision, similar to the Vectrex, it had its own display. Now the Vectrex had a CRT vector monitor in there, And I think back at the time, it was usually going for about $200, plus the games. The Entex Adventure Vision was $79, which was still a lot of money back in '82. But it was a console that had some good games on it and had its own built-in display. Now, with that being said, the Entex Adventure Vision has its child, if you will, in the Nintendo Virtual Boy. In this respect, the Adventure Vision was the first machine that I'm aware of anyway, at least back then anyway, that had a single row on the left-hand side of about 40 LEDs and a large rotating mirror. And as the mirror rotated behind the display, the LEDs would flicker, giving you your display. Now, the Virtual Boy pretty much had the same thing, but instead of a rotating mirror, it had a vibrating mirror and much more LEDs to give its display. Both were red, which I had no problem with. They were still kind of cool. But the Virtual Boy's heritage, whether Nintendo will admit it or not, or anyone else will admit it or not, definitely leads towards what the Adventure Vision had done prior in 1982. Now, the Entex Adventure Vision these days, they're very rare. Think about only 50,000 ever produced, and they come up very rarely on eBay or anywhere else. Kind of strange that over the past 3 or 4 weeks, 3 units have appeared on eBay. I think one went for about $1,700, one went for about $1,200 or $1,300, and the last one on there went for $5,000. Say what? I hate to be the idiot who spent $5,000 to buy that one. The machine, as Holy Grail as it is not worth that kind of crazy money. I, however, have always wanted one, and over the years I definitely have bid on a multitude of them on eBay, but my nemesis, Matthew Bartlett, always seemed to beat me out on those bids. And there was still a lot of money. I mean, those bids generally went for around $1,000 or $1,200 or $1,500 for the machine, some not even in great working condition. Now, fortunately, it's not a very complex machine, so it's fairly easy to repair. The parts are not like some crazy parts, aside from the LED, but the motor and other parts that tend to break down are generally fixable. But in any case, Matthew Bartlett has always beat me on them, and you know what? I had given up. I said to myself, why do I gotta spend this kind of crazy money to buy one that's, not in great condition or may have some issues down the line? It's a lot of money, and I always wanted to build my own. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today in Glen's Retro Show. I have just completed my very own Entex Adventure Vision. And this one is actually better than the original because there's really no parts that are going to break or wear out. And it can run many more games than the initial 4 games that were released. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We'll do a little how I built it, a little information between this and the Virtual Boy, and show you how I built it. All said and done, I did have a couple of friends help me out on this one with the case and the 3D printed parts. But all in all, this was still well under $200 to build, and that's sure a lot less than the current last sold one for $5,000. Whoever crazy person who purchased that. But I mean, the machine, there's just something about the look of it, and I can understand why people try and get this machine. It is very, very rare. But I also don't think it's worth the crazy amount of money that people spend on it, because the initial games were very good games at the time. They still, the gameplay on them is okay, but some are just downright impossible, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The Glen's Retro Show Adventure Glenny-Vision. Today on Glen's Retro Show.
Okay, so when you're doing a project like this, you need to have some type of skills in the wood department, because that's what this particular machine is made out of, and I really do not have any of those skills. Fortunately, I had a friend of mine who is very, very good at woodworking, and he made this for me. He requested to remain anonymous, so I respect his wishes. However, I will say that he did a fantastic job because we did not have an original machine to go off of. He basically just did this off of some photographs that he and I researched and some dimensions we found on the internet. We did not have an actual model to base this after, and I think for what we had available, he did a phenomenal job. And even if we didn't, it's just a good-looking machine. He did a great job here. I like how he put a little piece of, it's actually a piece of metal here, so that in the cartridges on the bottom there are magnets, and it's able to, attach and lock in like it's a real game cartridge. And I actually put a decal over this later on that actually looks like the cartridge connector to cover that up, but it did a really nice job. So the first thing I did, you can see that piece of metal here for the magnet, was just try to do my best. And I'm also not great at this either. I did the best I could. Let's take a piece of loose leaf paper and kind of measure the best from this angle and this angle, and make some pilot holes for the 4 joysticks, 4 control buttons actually, and the joystick goes in here. They're a little bit off, but the good thing is, it's a little piece of wood. It could always be replaced if I want to attempt this again. It's not a big, huge deal. Or I could even just put some wood putty in and reattempt it down the road. But I'm actually pretty fine with how it came out. You know, I can't really complain how this thing turned out at all. So once you make those holes, and I did it here just because once you paint it, it's probably harder to try and figure out how the holes are going to go in. So I made the holes first. Now, since this was already assembled by my friend, I had to basically tape off and paper off the sides, which are going to be white. Now, this is on the normal machine, this would have been black. I decided to go with a darker brown just to make it look a little bit different so people really don't think I'm trying to, like, you know, sell this for thousands of dollars later on down the road. Of course, I will never sell it to begin with. So I simply went outside. We had a halfway decent day. It was a little windy, and there were some bugs out, which kept landing on the paint. And once again, I'm not the best painter. But the trick is just to go quick. You start spraying over here and go across, spray over here, go across, and just do it. You have to do it a couple of times. You're never going to get it on one time. If you do, there'll be too much paint, and it'll glob on and make a big mess. So you got to take your time. So this is after, I can't even tell you how many coats. It looks really wet here because it is, but when it dries, it doesn't look like that at all. Now, also, you should put on after the paint. This is like a satin type of paint I used. We should put like a clear coat on here, but again, I couldn't wait anymore, so I did not do that. But I can always, the machine is fairly easy to put together and take apart, so it's not a big deal. If I want to take it apart, repaint it, refinish it, so not a really huge deal at all. You can see how it's coming out pretty good. Again, they could always use some sanding here and there, but again, I'm not trying to make it, you know, an ultra model. I just wanted to have a machine I could be proud to have on my shelf, and I really am at this point. But again, for the way everything turned out here, it's going pretty well. And of course, now the reverse has to be done. Once I painted all the spots that are going to be dark brown, it's now to paint the areas that have to be white. And it's really just the sides here that have to be done. I did have more trouble on one side than the other, only because, again, I didn't want to wait as long as I wanted to. But the beautiful thing is you can always use a wet sander, sandpaper, fine grit, and take out any imperfections, which I will definitely do at one point down the road. Now you can see here I'm test fitting the controls, and you can tell these 2 buttons are fine, but like this one might be a little bit too close. This one might be a little too close. It could be an optical illusion, but it does appear to me that they are. And did the best I can. Now these look like they're off, but in fact they're not. That is how this joystick's screw holes are. And what I wanted to do is he had just give me this flat wood. So after I cut this, I used a drill bit just to kind of countersink them, so the screws would go below, so you would not see them when the decal's put on. Now, actually, I didn't use this screw here or this screw here. It actually holds in quite well as it is, and I wanted to be able to take the control panel off without ruining the decal. However, the decal didn't come out perfect either, so I may change that down the road. But the joystick area does not have to be touched at all. That's fine. And I'll try and find the part number for this joystick. Again, I've had like at least 5, if not 6 years. I got it off eBay. It was an industrial-style joystick, but it just works really well in this case. And again, you can see the piece of metal here. You won't see this once you put the decal on here. That looks like a little socket that the Adventure Vision had. So just a quick test fitting. Just make sure the controls fit in here okay. I was kind of worried. This is a solid piece of wood going across, and the joystick's kind of big underneath, and it actually just fit. I'm impressed that I actually got it in there, but I have to carve some of this out or redo the joystick. It fit quite well. The joysticks got the same. The cartridges got the same color as the front case here, because they all would have been black. I just made mine dark brown, but I think it came out pretty well. So the next thing is the screen, and I got this recently off of eBay. I'll put a link down below to it. It's an 8-inch screen that uses one of these controller boards. It takes up more space than I would have liked, but to be quite honest, I have more than enough room. I was worried with the Atomic Pi because it's quite a bit larger than a Raspberry Pi, but it turns out I have more than enough room inside the machine. So this is actually running the original emulator. I think it's called AVD emulator. It's old, it's slow, which is why I needed to get like an Atomic Pi or something of that performance, like an Atom CPU, good performance. Otherwise, when you put sound on, it was doing like 2 frames a second, which was no good. But you can see on here we have the HDMI input power. Now this, unfortunately, requires 12 volts, where an Atomic Pi or Raspberry Pi you only need 5 volts. So inside the machine, I'm going to have 2 power packs that'll tie together with 1 power cord going out the back. So you want to have 2 power bricks. It'll still be one plug, and I'm going to make it a double prong removable plug. But unfortunately, I couldn't do just one power pack because this screen required 12 volts. See, it accepts a VGA and also a composite in here. And this is just going off to a little, you can have multiple selectors and different display modes, but I'm never going to touch that, so it's not a big deal. Now, this you see across here is just a piece of glue, hot glue, so that's not damaged, just glue I didn't take off of there. But here's the front screen. So I got a couple fingerprints in here. Again, a little fine sanding will take that right off, or another coat of paint, either way. But the screen fits in it perfectly. If you look really close, I did use black magic marker here just to cover little parts of the screen that were shown on the sides. It looks better now. This was just a couple of coats. I put more on. It looks darker, and it came out quite well. Here's just a closer shot of that control board. 12 volt in, HDMI, which is what I'm using for the Atomic Pi, VGA, composite out, and this goes to the control board, and nothing else in here is really used. It's not described in any way, shape, or form, so I couldn't even tell you what they are. So here again is just my test buttons. Now these are, as I showed you earlier, these are round buttons, and the original Adventure Vision had square. Very easy to swap out if I needed to. Just undo these nuts, and I could pull them right out. Not a big deal. Here's a joystick. Now what's kind of cool about this joystick, this screw here and this screw here, this right now I have no gate on it, so it can go in any direction. I could lock this into a 4-way only, or not to gate, like a 2-way, for like 2-way going back and forth. It came with those kind of gates, but again, I don't really care. I can use all the different directions on here. I'm not a big person with I can't even say it. So here's an undershot of the control box here. Again, these are round, basically doorbell buttons is what they are. They're round like push buttons. I would like to eventually swap these out with square ones. Just right now, with everything going on with China, I can't get anything out of there. So I used what I had on hand. Easy to swap out. Just turn these nuts, and these will all come right out, and I can swap them. The joystick right here, you can see, it just clears that front board. There's a piece of wood goes across. It like just makes it, which is, thankfully, I got lucky. But these two screws here are for, this thing actually supports gates. It comes with a 2-way or a 4-way gate. I don't really need them right now because this game's obviously will need 8 directions, some I'm going to play in here. So, but it's nice to know I have the option. If I did want to lock it into like a Pac-Man or a Burger Time 4-way gate, I could always do that. So here it is wired up. I simply used a cheap, I think a $5 USB joystick encoder board, and just everything's wired up. So again, all these are removable. I can desolder these to the new wires and very easily. And you can see I still have plenty more buttons I can add to this, and I do plan on at some point. I just want to figure out how I want to do it, because I want it to look, obviously, from most directions, completely stock. Maybe underneath I'll put some buttons for coin, I don't know. But I have options here where I could definitely add more buttons. So here it is, the screen put in place, and he made this very modular to a degree. These 4 screws here allow you to take the whole screen area out, and obviously the control panel comes out. The rest of it has pretty much been glued together, which is why I had to paint it, cover certain spots on it. But the screen fits in. You can see really, really nice. He actually made a nice little spot here for it to lean the screen on, and he did a really nice job. I gave him the dimensions, and he was spot on with the woodworking. This is just a test firing up, making sure that the screen works. The Atomic Pi was working, which it is. It took a while to get it to run Windows. It comes stock with Linux on there, but I got Windows installed on it. It's got a 16 gigabyte onboard storage, and between Windows and the games I have on here, I think I want to get like, I don't know, maybe a gigabyte or less left. So I still have room to put more games, but I got a lot of games in there at this point. And you can see the buttons. You can see this one definitely looks closer than these guys right here. Not a horrible thing. Could always be moved. I can always put some wood putty in. But again, I'm not really worried about it at this stage right now. So just trying it out. And this is running the AVD emulator version 1 on here. Just trying it out, and it does work. Now, the one weird thing is I wasn't able to get sound working on the Atomic Pi under Windows. It worked under Linux because it does have built-in speaker ports and obviously a sound chip, but I was not able to get it to work, so I had to kind of cheat to get sound working on this one. And now here's just some test decals. This is really just a quick paper printout. Same on here, just paper printouts. And I was trying using like the, heating duct aluminum tape to see how that would work. And if I took my time, I probably could have made that work, but I didn't like the lines that were coming in here, and This was just a test print as well. I was just really seeing how this was going to work out, and I really wasn't super happy. I know there's a way I'll be able to get this to work at some point, though right now I wasn't very happy with it, so I kind of took it off. Again, this is just regular paper printout. You can see there was some paint bleed I had to fix on here from the wood. And again, just some test prints of the decals, nothing crazy, just seeing how they worked out. Gary, I started talking to him, and he offered his services to make me some components. So he made me a joystick. This is actually a prototype joystick, not the final one I used, but just seeing a test fitting. And this area right here. Now, this right here is actually the skirt. You're supposed to pull that off to just have this on here, but I kind of like how it looked, so I left it on. And it came out really well. This was the first test print for this. We went through, I think, 3 or 4 revisions of the joystick just because it was either too short or too wide, but we got it just right after a while. Now, here's basically when I started doing the artwork. I went to Staples and got basically just shipping label decals. They do have it in an 8.5 by 11, so that's all this is here. It's an 8.5 by 11 sheet, and once I printed on that, I just got this one-sided clear protective film. So I printed it out, laid it on this film, then I just basically cut this out here, put it on, and then I made the holes after the fact. And I should have been a little more diligent. I kind of knew I should have had a millimeter on this side, a millimeter on this side, and actually I think I went just 2 millimeters over and put it down, which is why my buttons are a little bit off. Again, something I can fix in the future, not a big deal. You can kind of see here a little bit that the button is off on this side and off on this side. It would have been centered if I had, moved it over, which is the same exact thing I did here with the final version. So I think I would have learned from the first time onto the second time. And you can see here's the screen, not put in yet, but the screen is inside the bezel right here. And I still have to finish all the other decals on here. So again, you can see here, I should have had a millimeter on this side, a millimeter on that side. I went 2 over on that side, and now because of that, he's off and he's off. If I gone over that millimeter, they would have been centered a lot better, including this here. Again, something I can fix down the road, not a huge deal. I'll have to just probably heat this up a little bit to soften the adhesive, pull it off, and make a new one. But to be honest, right now, it was such a project. I'm good at how it is right now. Here's a closer shot how it looks. Again, my buttons here, these are round doorbell buttons, and they actually work fairly well. They have a little more spring and travel than you would like, but they do work. But I do want to swap these out with proper square ones, and I'll get them at some point, maybe even ones that light up in the future. But there's the Entex logo, and of course I had to throw my logo over here on the side, and this will be silver. This is the final joystick right here. I'll make that silver. And again, I just liked how the skirt came out. I think it just kind of melds into it, and I didn't want to take it off. I could have, should have, but I did not. And here's a shot down showing the decal right here. These are still not the final decals up here, just down here. And I think it's starting to look pretty good. Now here's a shot from the back. You can see the board, the video board's in here, HDMI connector. Here is the USB connector cable for the encoder board. And this is the board that goes over to here that lets you select. You want to use VGA, HDMI, composite, menu mode, brightness. But it's really fine as it is, so that's not going to be touched. I'm leaving that alone. So here's that all-important atomic Pi. Only cost me $35. I can't believe it's that cheap, but that's what I paid for it. A huge heatsink on here. It's running an Atom CPU. Here's my HDMI out. It has a micro SD card slot in here, so you can add additional storage. There's 16 gigabyte on it, but you can obviously add a lot more. There's a little reset button over here. Down on this side, we have one USB 3.0 port going to a small 4-port hub. This is supposed to be a camera port, but it's a USB 2.0 port, so I could always tap into there if I wanted to. There's Ethernet over here, and there's power as well. On the top, it's kind of hard to see, it's dark. And then here are the 2 speaker connectors right here, but I was unable to get any sound out of them. So I just used a small USB soundboard. I used one of my Raspberry Pi projects. I had it left over, which is right here. So here's the USB interface. This is the soundboard. I'm going to make it so you can plug headphones in. I'll leave this available. And I simply put a small amp on it, a pan amp, which I tapped into the ground and the left and right. Actually, I think this one is ground and left and right. And then I have my 2 speakers, which are just some speakers I line around. They're not very good, but they're good enough for right now. And for the power, you can see it requires 5 volts. I simply went and tapped the 5 volts right off of the USB port. So I plug this into my hub, I have sound, and I can control the volume from the back when I have it all mounted. And I mean, that's really it. Once it's all put together, it's just making it nice, look nice inside and mount everything, which I'm still finalizing how I want everything to sit. But the machine does work. And you can see right here, see if I can zoom in just a little bit. I thought I had a better shot of that, but I'll zoom in just a second here. A little bit here. I made a small decal here that looks like the cartridge connector port that was on the original machine, just to add that little more bit of authenticity. But that's really it. So this is the original one from Entex. Get a little zoomer in here. So that's what it looked like here. You see it had the silver shaft, had the square buttons. There's a cartridge connector in here. The red screen is tilted a little bit more. But that's okay. There's a mirror in here, and the back was actually larger as well. But on mine, I think that looks pretty good and pretty close. Again, all these decals here are just regular, printed on regular paper you use for shipping labels, all of them. And once I printed on them, I just put a clear self-adhesive coating on top of it, and then peeled it back and just stuck them on. I think they look pretty good. So here's a quick comparison of the both. Here's the original unit. Here's my unit. And you can see my joystick will look more like this. I'm going to paint the bottom of it this color and the shaft silver. But you see I have round buttons where I need to make them square. And I think my gray area here needs to be made a little bit bigger over here. Not much, just a little bit to cover them all over. You can see here's a cartridge port. You can see I have a cartridge port. It's fake, but that's okay. You can see their screen is recessed a little bit on an angle, where mine is just straight and flush. But I think overall, if you just looked at them in a glance, I don't think you would know that one is the real one and one is not. So all that being said, let's do some gameplay.
Okay, well here it is, and I think it looks pretty good. I never had an original Entex Adventure Vision to kind of go off these dimensions. I had a friend of mine who wants to remain anonymous make me the shell here out of wood, and I think he did a pretty good job. Again, we didn't have a real machine to actually ever look at, so this was all kind of done just by photographs. And he even, which is kind of cool, he even made little cartridges here. Here's Space Force, which is a little asteroids clone. And what's good about it is they're magnetic, so they'll actually go and stay with a magnet in these little spots here. And he also made, the original packing game, which was Defender. And we have Super Cobra, which would have been such a good game, but you'll see when I start playing it what the boo-boo they made in making this one. But the Defender and Space Force are really good. And another good version of Turtles. So the 3 of the 4 games are actually very playable. The Super Cobra, I guess, is, but when you see as I play it, why it's kind of really crazy difficult. But we can leave these up here. They don't need to actually go in here to play any games because they're just pieces of wood. But it is kind of nice that they stick and they act like they're a real cartridge, which is kind of nice. I had a gentleman, very good friend of mine now. I kind of met him through this. Gary made me some STL files for my 3D printer to make the joystick area here and the actual joystick. The joystick on the original Entex is silver. I just haven't had a chance to go either spray paint. I got to sand that down and spray paint it. There's a couple things I still want to change on it. One being that on the original Entex Adventure Vision, the buttons were square. And as people who are familiar with my channel know, I try to reuse whatever I have before I try and go out and get anything else. And I actually had these white buttons here. And actually what's going on right now in the world, it's kind of hard to get things from China right now, so I don't have the square buttons, but they're very easy to replace. I'm just using a USB encoder board to talk to all of these, so I can just pop these off and put square ones in the same spot. Or I've also toyed about maybe doing some 3D printed buttons. Maybe that's a possibility, but for right now, they are round. The screen in here is an 8-inch TFT screen. Got it for, I think I want to kind of say I got it for $35 off of eBay. It wasn't a lot of money. I can post a link down below to that. It accepts VGA, HDMI, or composite. Right now I'm going through HDMI. And I wanted to put a Raspberry Pi in here originally. Now there is an Entex Adventure Vision driver for it. I couldn't get it to work very well, and the screen was only taking up a small portion of the screen. Now there was a Windows emulator, I think it was called EMV Advanced, something like that. I'll put a link down below to that as well. And the only problem with that is it's an old release. It's like version 1, and it does work, but there's no way to get the Windows lines out from the top and bottom of the screen. I can show you that in the video as well. So I ended up just using MAME with MES built in. Was able to get that working. And so that's really it. Now the Entex Adventure Vision, I actually used a dark brown here. The original one was black. And I guess I want to make mine a little bit different so people don't think, you know, I'm trying to pass mine off as a real machine and trying to sell it for $5,000, which I would never do. People know me. It's not leaving my site ever. This is now my Holy Grail inside my own collection. But I did want to make it a little bit different just so people kind of know that this is not an original. There's other ways you can tell as well, but I think overall, if people walk by this right now or just see this in passing, they would think this is a real Entex Adventure Vision, which is kind of the whole point. So, you know, I still have some more work to be done on this, like tidying up the wires inside, but as usual, I can't wait. I've been showing this already off on Facebook and in other forums. I think I better get this video out now before I spoil too much of my own thing. So I'm just going to turn this thing on right now and let this thing power up. And again, this is running an Atomic Pi, and the Atomic Pi was only $35. So the cost between it and a Raspberry Pi are pretty much the same, but the Atomic Pi is much more powerful. So you can see right here, it is booting up, and originally it comes with Linux, and I could have went that route, but I always go to Windows for some reason. But we're loading it up right now. And here's my desktop, and I also, for right now, I have a wireless keyboard and mouse connected to this. Again, I have more plans to do this in the future, but right now my initial goal was just to make a working Entex Adventure Vision, period. So here we are. So here is the actual Adventure Vision emulator. It's an old version. I'm going to launch it real quick just so you guys can see it. And that comes up here, and we'll launch it. You can see it always comes up in a windowed mode. And if I can even get it to the top, there's no way to get rid of the top bar or the bottom bar down here. But if I launch a file on here, I'm going to open a ROM. And you know what? We're going to pick the packing game, Defender. So we'll put Defender down here just to be proper. There we go. And I'm going to open up Defender. And you can see it looks pretty good here, and it plays good, but there's no way to get rid of the top and bottom bar. And the other thing is the emulator is very slow, which is kind of why you need an emulator CPU that's pretty powerful. So that's why I had to go with an Atomic Pi. It's just basically fast enough to play it with sound. So I'm going to exit this right now, go out of here, quit it, and actually run MAME. So we're going to run MAME right now. And the way the Adventure Vision worked is you had your joystick in the middle, and the buttons on the left and the right were identical. So if you're a left or right-handed player, like the Atari Lynx, you had your own choice of how you wanted to play it. Mine will be set up very differently. I can use these buttons to play the game, or these buttons to play the game, and then use a coin, escape, other functions. Again, I haven't really settled on anything really just yet, but I'm going to go right now and load. I'm going to move a cartridge in here right now, unmount view. It's running MES through MAME, which is not the most elegant, but for right now, until I get it working properly in a Raspberry Pi, a friend of mine, Keo Dykins, is looking at it, but as of right now, we don't have it. So I'm going to go into Defender again and launch the emulator now. Yes, we know it's not working properly. We can go past it. But there it is. And what's kind of nice about it is, unlike the original emulator, they put a flicker in. I don't know if that's coming across in the camera, but there is a flicker in here. Let me see if I get the buttons going here. Look, there's my shield. There we go. So, again, for its time in you got to think this is 1982, and I think that this display technology, although as primitive as it is, even then, is something you wouldn't have gotten in this price point at all. And the Defender game, which was the packing game, I'll get a closer shot of this stuff later. Just turn it real quick right now. The game itself of Defender is actually really good. Actually, they're all really good. I'll go through all of them in a second. I just wanted to show you more of a widescreen view of this before I go into gameplay. Smart Bomb. It just looks really, really good. And I'm just I'm still so excited I even have this thing right now. Obviously, I have a 3-watt amplifier in here, which is making all these tinky noises. But I'm going to escape out here just really quick. I showed you the Adventure Vision one, so I'm going to escape out real quick. Going back to Windows, the advantage of the Adventure Glenny-Vision over the original Entex is you could do things like this, which you could not do, obviously, on the original. Play other things. Now the speakers I have in here are really crappy speakers I just found around the house, so I'm probably going to change them out at some point, but to show what it's doing, you get a good idea of it. Whoa, it's got barreled in the face. Will I get it in the face? I might. I'm probably gonna hit it right here. Oh, I didn't. Oh, but I jumped out of barrel. So I want to go through all these different games in a moment, but the main point of this thing is here that you don't always have to spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Sometimes, again, I'm not very handy. I'm not one really to talk. I could never build this shell, but I'm sure there are people that are pretty handy with woodworking, and you can make your own Holy Grail machine that, again, people walking by would never even know that it's not the real thing, except for you, or unless, like me, you do things in it to make people realize it's not the real thing. But I am stoked to have something like this in my collection, period, whether or not I built it or not. Will I still try and find the real one? Possibly, but I wouldn't want to be that idiot who spent $5,000 on buying one. Calling me an idiot. So let me go now get a little bit of a closer shot so you can see how some of the games actually play on here. And they actually play very, very well. The monitor is really good. Again, the Atomic Pi spent $35 on. The screen was like $37 on it. The joystick, I'll put a link down below if I even remember. I had it for like 5 years if I could find it. But the joystick was only like $6 off of eBay. The buttons were like $1 for like 4 of them. So there wasn't a lot of money on here. The speakers and stuff that I've reused from something else. It was really just the making of the actual shell here, which is probably the bigger thing. But again, let me get a closer shot, shut up for a second, and show you some of the gameplay on this machine here. I'm just really excited to show you guys, so let's get to a closer camera angle. Okay, let's start off with the packing game, which is Defender. The cartridge is in there already, so we'll launch that. And we'll do a little gameplay of it. So when it starts up, you're already in the game. Just remember which buttons are. I think this is my shooting button. There we go. Ah! Oh, he's got a person. Oh! One more, I think. There he is, hiding at the bottom. Get that person back. Oh, I shot him. Oh, no! Of course, there is hyperspace and smart bombs. I'm not sure which button is which. Let me hit this one first here. That was my smart bomb. And there's my hyperspace. And I can thrust with the button if I wanted to, but there's one down here under my radar. He's got a person. Because the person's going to die, I'm never going to catch him. I didn't catch him. Yeah, he died. Whoa! Oh, oh! I'm not good enough to save anyone yet. They're going to die. Oh, missed him. Missed him. And crashed into one of them. I have one ship left. I have a bunch of smart bombs. Now I'll start using those. Oh. I'm going to blow up. I'm going to die. Smart bomb them all. Oh, ah. Man, some of these are like impossible to hit. They're so tiny. Okay, I'll leave you alone. Oh. Ah. Well, that's it for me in Defender. Game over. Again, I love how the red effect looks. Again, I also like the Virtual Boy. I like these quirky consoles. So we're going to escape out of here. And we'll take out Defender. Or let's try something else. What else can we play in here? How about we play the Asteroids clone, which is called Space Force. So we'll put the Space Force down in the cartridge slot. And then we have to go over here and eject or unmount this cartridge. So we'll unmount it. Oops. And then we shall mount Space Force. And Space Force is basically a complete Asteroids ripoff, and it's actually not bad. Come on, run. There we go. And this one actually has a title screen, which is kind of nice. Entex Electronics Space Force. And we'll hit a button. It should start up. Figure out which button it is. Doot, doot. Whoop. Uh-oh. Although the one difference with this is there you have no inertia. You move, you go, you let go of the joystick, you stop immediately. So that's something to get used to. But I think, again, for the technology of the screen that they used, 40 LEDs and a mirror, this actually is pretty good. Oh, it's getting crazy fast. Oh. This is even a two-player game. That's good. I guess I'm cheating here. I have no idea how I picked 2 players. You can see it starts off very, very easy. Just a couple of asteroids. But they do break up, just like in the Atari Asteroids, which is kind of neat. Even the sound effect is very good. The only thing that they missed the mark on here is when you move your ship, there's no inertia. The second you stop, your ship stops, which makes it a little bit easier to play to a degree. So you can see it gets pretty fast and hairy relatively quickly. So let's try one of the other games. Let's take out Space Force, which you never would want to do with the machine on, but since these are fake, that's okay. And I'm going to show you Turtles next. I'm going to show you the Super Cobra last. So I'm going to escape out of here, and we have to again unmount the cartridge. That's why I would like to get this working on a Raspberry Pi, because this would not have to be done, obviously, in a Raspberry Pi environment. So we're going to load a cartridge, and this time we're going to take Turtles. And we're going to launch our machine once again. Now again, the screen is still pretty sharp. You see the flicker? Still pretty sharp. On an original machine, this would be waving quite a bit. Again, it's a mirror that'd be spinning, but I'm actually still okay with that. Whoop. I can't get in there. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Yeah, he got me quick. I was never very good at turtles. But then again, what game am I? Oh, asteroids. I'm actually good at asteroids, so I can't complain. Let's try that again. Oh, 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 oh. Oh no! Trapped. And even the text, I mean, it's large text, it's very readable. Oh, 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 oh. Uh-oh. Ah, I got out of his way. Game cheated. Game over. But the Turtles is a fairly good representation of the handheld, which Entex also made. So we're going to, again, remove Turtles. And I'm going to show you the last game here, which this would be such a good game. But I'm going to show you why that they messed this up. They would have had 4 excellent games. I still think 3 of the games are excellent. This one, I'm going to show you why it's not. Super Cobra, which is based off also the arcade Super Cobra, but also Scramble, which is one of my favorite games. So we're going to pull this thing out, and I'm going to show you just cartridge. We're going to unmount this cartridge. Unmount. And we shall mount a cartridge, which is Super Cobra, and launch our machine. Cobras. See if we can get a whole bunch of Cobras here. Let's try this again. 3, it doesn't matter. Start the game. Here we go. So you see you have all different levels and a base, which I have no idea how anyone would get through that. It looks really good as far as the graphics go. We have our bombs and our bullets, which is great. Great job here. Now you can see how narrow it's getting. Look at the spot I'm coming up to here. Still okay. Oh, except I got hit. It gets so narrow, you literally cannot physically get through it. But I'll show you if I can even get to it again at this point. I'll try and play it a little bit better through the viewfinder here. But we see we can go back, forward, up, down, drop our bombs. Okay, I can go up here, all right. Oh! You got it. There's like no room to maneuver in here. It's completely unforgiving. For a screen this small and the joystick and everything else, they could have given you a little more breathing room. Not the difficulty level in here is like a 9.9, which I could see a lot of people being completely frustrated. I mean, I understand they're trying to make it like the arcade, but sometimes you got to take concessions when you move it to a home console versus an arcade joystick and so forth. Okay, try and go up here. All right, so far so good. Now look at this. Oh, there's like no way you're getting through that. And I get killed there every single time. I mean, that's just crazy. They should have... Oh, do I still have 1 ship left? If I do, I'll try it one more time. Okay, looks like I do. I mean, it's just crazy hard. So I cannot see anyone. There's no save states in these games. I see nobody. And if anyone ever has, leave a comment down below. I cannot believe anyone's ever gotten to the base or even past a few levels in this game, even with 5 ships. Here we go again. Here we go again. Down! There's like no way to do it. There's like no way to get through that spot. So game over. So that is the original 4 games and only 4 games that were ever released on the Entex Adventure Vision. So with the Entex Adventure Glenny-Vision, we have more options. So I showed you a couple games. Let's show you Asteroids. So you saw the Space Force. So just for giggles, I'm going to put Space Force back in here. And let's see how it would have looked if it had a little better resolution and an Atari license. We'll put in some quarters, and try her out. Oh, this button's up here, that's right. Woo! Now, how would this have blown minds back in the day if you were at home with your Adventure Vision playing this? So that's just a little showing of how Asteroids are played. Let's go try another game, go through some of these quickly. Another great game, of course, was its sister game, Asteroids Deluxe, where they replace hyperspace with shields. So we have our thrust and buttons, and our shields. Now this game, I'm going to enable the back artwork, because in the arcade machine there was actually a mirror effect, and there was a backdrop. So I'll get that working in this. Again, this is just stuff I really just rushed through to make the video for you guys, because I really couldn't wait to show you all, actually. But there's that inertia you lose in the built-in game. So let's now escape that. Let's try another game. Let's do some Berserk. I have Battlezone on here, but I haven't set up the controls yet. I can show you what it looks like, but I'm not going to be able to play it because I haven't set up the controls. But you could have played Battlezone, which would have been kind of cool. But again, I have to set up the controls to work here, and it's not set up yet. So let's go down to Berserk, another favorite game of mine. We'll put our coin in. So games like this definitely would have worked on the machine, even when it's low resolution. You may not have had the speech, but a lot of games back then did not, which is fine. Actually, back in the day, I believe only the Atari home computer versions and the 5200 had speech. But even the 2600 version, which didn't have speech, it was a good game. And I think there's actually hacks now that has speech in it. But this could have definitely been done on the low resolution of the machine back in the day. You can see my angles do work. Angles work, it's just Super Cobra is too difficult. So I'm going to escape out of Berserk. How about some burger time? Yeah. Got to get me some burger time. Put a coin in. Uh-oh. Ah. I'm going to pepper you this time, Jack. Oh, you turned. Fine. Oh, you little bum. Ah! Okay. Looks good. I've played really bad. Let's get a burger time. Another game I used to enjoy was Carnival. And this one I got to add a sound sample to it. But it does work. I'm using my buttons to go left and right. I'm missing my gunshot and hitting sounds. That's just a sound sample I can add very easily. Oh, he's eating my bullets! Gaming was so simple back then, and I still love it. How about, of course, I showed you before, but let's actually do a halfway decent version of Donkey Kong. You always have to have a Donkey Kong on whenever you're playing. Now, of course, a game like this, looking like this, never would have been possible on this machine. But it is now. Got my jump. And the joystick actually works pretty well. I may actually 3D print a little stopper on the bottom to make the throw a little bit less, because it does have a slightly long throw. But this was never designed for a video game. This was designed for like a bucket loader, like industrial equipment. So can I complain? No. And it does work well enough. Just want to complete a level. The King of Kong. There we go. Great movie, by the way. If you guys have not seen The King of Kong, I love that film. And of course, everyone has their own way. I kind of switch between going on one side versus going straight across. Just depends how I'm feeling that day. Which probably would have been a better move if I actually did it the other way, because I think I'm in trouble. Ah! Uh-oh. 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 Oh, man. Take a shot. Nope. No way I was going to do it. Okay, Donkey Kong, you win this round. Let's go back out, and let's try... Donkey Kong 3 I never really liked. I'm not going to even play it. But Donkey Kong Jr. I did. Let's give that a try. And it may enable, you know, the bezel artwork on the side. Obviously, these games have extra room on the side. But again, this is literally like 99% complete. And I have to show you guys because I've been showing it to everyone in my Facebook groups. And I was trying not to show it until I did the video. But I get too excited sometimes. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Yeah. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Oh, I don't want to do that. Get up there. Ah! Uh-oh. Ah! Ah! Oh, I might make it. Oh, until I got my butt bit off by a bird. Well, I got one more key. Oh, I gotta do more? Oh! Oh, oh, ah. Ooh. Ah! Uh-oh, ah! Oh! Oh! I'm gonna try it one more time, guys. Oh, oh, ah! Ah! Uh-oh, uh-oh, ah! Ah! Okay, we will now leave Donkey Kong Jr. because I am horrible. We'll get out of there. How about some Frogger? You see the joystick works very well. Ah, there's my babe. Let's make some froggy babies. It looks like I'm gonna leave the first one as my hard spot today. Here we go. Oh, oh, another babe? Gotta get my babe. Ah! Ah, see? That's what women do. They get you killed. Get out of here. Another one of my favorites, Galaxian. Now, all these games and everything on here is running within the built-in 16 gigabyte of onboard storage. There is an SD card. You can add more storage, or being it's basically a PC, you can use anything really. But everything is built into the RAM in the machine. Yeah. So what's good about it as well is I can use a joystick, or I can, being as MAME, or even a Pi when I get that working, you can remap the buttons. A lot of these games, back in the day, they would have made you use the joystick, where games like these, you really want to use the buttons. Okay, not to bore you, let's try another game here. Let's go out. Ladybug. Now, Ladybug works, but the sound really doesn't sound right. I'm not sure if it's my speakers or this version of MAME. Or this may actually not even be an original. This might be like a bootleg of the game, which wouldn't surprise me. You can see the joystick. Games like this, the joystick is key. And I just said it was fine, but of course now I'm not making my move. Get over there. Like any eight-way joystick, when you're playing a four-way game, you got to be really super precise in your movements. You know, a good Pac-Man clone back in the day. I definitely enjoyed playing some Ladybug. Take Me Out. I'm going to think this is a bootleg. I think the sound is different enough where I don't think that's my speakers in that one. How about some Moon Patrol? Oh, I guess this is my jump button. I want to change that. Yep, that's my jump button. Ah! Get off the moon. It's my moon. Oh, you know, when I was younger, I'm telling you, I wasn't this bad. But I'm definitely bad these days. All right, let's try something else here. Mousetrap. Now, with Mousetrap, it's kind of like Ladybug, but you have gates. So each one of these buttons will represent, actually, these will represent gates, and that'll be when I eat a bone. I think I can hit that to turn into a dog. But again, a very fun game. I think this was by Exidy, and Exidy always had these long boot up times with the sound. The sound you're hearing actually was in the real machine as well during its boot up process. The other good game that they had was Venture, which is a very good game. So you can see, there's yellow, there's blue, oh, there's dog, and there's red. Oh, eat a cat. Good. Uh-oh. Oh. Oh, I did it again. I want the red. Oh. Well, again, fun game that Glen also stinks at. So let's go. Mr. Do. I'm actually not horrible at Mr. Do. Ah, okay, maybe I am horrible at Mr. Do. I always have better memories of how I played. Oh, 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 oh! Oh, I'm dead. Ah, ah, ah! Oh, he's getting away! No! Well, at least I got through a level. What else do we have here? Of course, you gotta have Miss Pac-Man. Everyone has to have a Miss Pac-Man on their machine. So you can see she's following my... following me to her death. But the joystick is really not bad. I think it could be improved a little bit, but it's not a bad... Again, this was never designed to be an arcade joystick. It was an industrial joystick. But it works well enough. Until, again, I bring her to her death. Let's try a different game here. Pengo. Pengo, I'm not gonna lie, I'm really not good at it at all. Let's give it a try. Ha-ha! Uh-oh. Ah! Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ha-ha! Oh, dang it. Oh. Come on there, Pengo. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Come here, come here. Oh! Yeah, yeah, come this way. Take that. Take that. All right, I got through a level. I'm getting out while I'm on top. Let's get out of there. Phoenix is a good game. And if I'm not mistaken, this was the first game that actually gave you a boss to fight. All right, joystick? Ah, joystick. I'm going to change the buttons later on. But right now I'm using a joystick. This is my shields. Oh boy. There's shields. Oh, oh. Crazy birds. Ah, come on, you can't go through my shield. You should have blew up. Birds are on crack. Well, that's one way to get rid of them, I suppose. Oh, come on! He hit me! You know... Get away from me, bird. Ha ha. Jeez, come on. Since when can they fly through your shields? Okay, well, we're done with that game. Of course, you could always go really old school and play some Pong, but I'd have to have some paddle set up, which I don't have right now. It doesn't work with joysticks. So, but you can look at it. Definitely old school, and definitely the Adventure Vision could have done a game like that, no problem. And I actually could have probably done Quicks as well, which is another good game. Oh. Taking a chance, taking a chance. Oh, it paid off. Oh, really? Come on. Oh, uh-oh. Yikes! Oh. Well, you're done now, Quicks. Really? Oh, my God. Well, clear the level. That's all I came here to do. Let's see what else we got here. Rally X, a good Namco game. Of course, we have to wait for their ROM check. Uh-oh. Oh! Oh! I'm getting that last flag. Okay, I feel good about that one. What else do we have? Now here's Scramble. Now this is basically the Super Cobra. I don't know if it was really a clone, but it came after Scramble, which is basically the exact same game, but it's a helicopter in Super Cobra versus a spaceship in Scramble. So I do think, graphically and gameplay-wise, they did a good job, but they just made it way too hard with the movement you can do. Maybe with the original joystick, maybe if I modify this joystick or use a USB joystick, maybe I can do better. And I'll probably do a video on that because this does have a USB interface, so I can definitely plug in, joysticks of both types and see if that spot is even remotely passable. Okay, I stink in the games anyway, and I'm blaming the joystick, but whatever. Also playing through a viewfinder. I'm always going to use that excuse, because I am. Come on, come on. Okay, definitely got further in here, and I could probably keep playing. I'm actually not too bad in Scramble. Space Fury, but the sound's really not working super well. I guess I could just show it to you. Why not? Showing you the other ones, I can show you this one.
So, a creature for my amusement. Prepare for battle.
And is it joystick? It is joystick. See, I have to add some sound samples to this one as well. Not a big deal. That can be done. Space App, again, a game that definitely could have been done on the Adventure Vision if it stuck around a little bit longer. It's a very simple game. Basically, you are a base in the middle, and you can shoot, and people just trying to shoot you. Oh. And it just keeps getting faster and faster. And I'm glad it hit me this time. The epic end explosion when you were hit. So let's try another game here. What else do we have? Star Trek, again, I could show you, but you can't really play it right now. I need to set up the controls. But again, a game like this, I guess technically very blockily, could have been done. I think any vector style game could have been done to a degree. But something like this might have been possible. I don't know. Maybe someone will make a cart one day. But, you know, with Star Wars here, actually I can kind of play it. So I have my mouse right here. So I'm going to give it a try. Hit this button. So you can see we have our mouse here. And let's play some Star Wars Arcade on the Entex Adventure Vision. Chicken. I'm going to try and use just the Force. Of course, I trust you, Obi-Wan. Lied about my dad, didn't tell him about my sister, but I'm going to trust you. Nice! People would have went insane if they had something like this on their machine back in the day. Let's go out of here. What else do we have? Here's the actual Super Cobra from the arcade. So you can see it's very similar to Scramble, and they did a pretty good rendition graphically of it. It's just that, man, it's just the hardness level is just, well, it's hard. Dang. Maybe the machine's hard here, too. Those rockets take off like crazy. Dang. Look at that. This is not Airwolf. Oh, really? My God. All right. That's a hard game. Last one I want to show you of these is, of course, Zaxxon. Again, I need to add sound samples. I don't have any sound samples in here right now. But a game like this, I think, would have been fairly impossible to do on the original machine, but we're many, many moons away from 1982. And on Glen's Retro Show, we try to do the impossible. Like, actually play a game halfway decent.
Run, coward.
So guys, that's really it. I really just wanted to show you guys that after many years of wanting this and many years of trying to get this off of eBay or other means, I was able to get my hands on one by making one myself. And the point is that sometimes you can do it yourself. In this particular case, I couldn't do it by myself. I had some help, but I'm very happy to have this. I'll do more videos on this in the future, showing about, things I've done to it to make it better. Maybe, the buttons being changed and other things to make it a little more Adventure Vision-like, but also be able to do more. But I do want to thank you all for watching this episode. I am still stoked to look at that flashing red screen that I've wanted to see for so long. So again, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Any comments, please leave them down below. I do read them. If you like the video, please like, share, subscribe. Definitely tell your friends. And remember, no matter what you do or how you do it, game on.
At the Tiny Arcade fan page. Remember, don't admire people too much. They'll disappoint you.
Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.
Is that like another package or something? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Carl, where's your father? I gotta talk to him right now.
He's not home, and my name's Cole, not Carl.
Carl, I have no time to argue with right now. I gotta go down there now. All right, Glenn, where are you? Where? Oh. You and me gotta talk. Oh yeah.
You and me gonna talk real close like. Hold on, Lucille. Sorry. There can only be one. That's better.
He needs 5 because what he's gonna do for himself he needs 5 because what he's gonna do is bag up 4 of them. Actually, he'll bag up 3 of them. He'll use one and he'll display one. That's what Glen does.
Okay.